Yes, you're in the place to be. It's Astral Black, coming at you with a review video on the new Ninjin Clash of Characters game. I don't know how new this is actually, I have to double check. But I got my hands on it when I was playing it at Eurogamer, if you remember in the last video, the Eurogamer vlog. And I was really interested in this because it reminded me a lot of like Castle Crashers and what's the other one called again? Scott Pilgrim. Those are indie games, arcade games. And so I played it, and honestly, I'm very happy with it, and I want to see more. So yeah, let's get into it. Ninjin's story is simple, light-hearted, and a little bit cheesy, but it's not really a bad kind of cheese. It's more of just a, silly kind of cheese that you can kind of appreciate just for being itself. It starts off with your village getting all of its carrots, which is like currency to the village, just taken away by like a really mean shogun, and it's really just your mission to go and get all the carrots back. There are some silly and entertaining characters along the way to keep things entertaining, but other than that, that's just it. It sets the player a goal, gives them a purpose, and just really sets the scene for the game. And that's really all I need from a game like this. I don't really need anything too deep, just something enjoyable and just, gives me a point to play the game. Ninjin's gameplay is where it really shines. It's a beat 'em up game with a nice amount of customization to really mess around with. You use a wide variety of weapons to defeat your enemies, from swords, shurikens, relics, as well as like power stones as well that power your character up when you build up your combo meter high enough. Each weapon comes with its own pros and cons. Some swords are slower, but however they do heavy damage, heavy critical hit damage, and are a lot longer so you can hit more enemies on the screen. Some swords do less damage, shorter, but however they have a higher attack speed. Other swords have elemental damage from fire doing residual damage, water getting health back on a certain amount of hits done to enemies, and lightning being able to chain across different enemies, as well as different other elements that help you along the game. Same pretty much goes for shurikens in terms of damage and how much stamina it uses from throwing a shuriken. And relics help with like health and stamina and power dealt with like shurikens and so much more. So it really encourages people to focus on their build, swapping things in and out for how you play the game as well. And it's nothing in depth to something like an RPG, but it gives it enough to really make the players focus and give the incentive to collect more weapons and pay a little bit of attention to how you're using them and what it does. Each level is set out in waves that spawn a set amount of enemies. Each enemy is different from the other. Some shoot projectiles, some resist different attacks, some take away your weapons. So it's, it adds a little bit more excitement, so you're not just slashing at random enemies for like however many hours you play the game. There is some sort of challenge to be had. With all those elements combined, this game is absolutely fun to play, and also balances the line between difficult and enjoyable in a way where it's not too brain dead easy and not too frustratingly hard. Did I mention this co-op? Not just online co-op, but split screen co-op. At least someone still recognizes how important that is in video games. There's also a survival mode where you can just fight unlimited waves of enemies whilst picking up swords, shurikens and relics along the way to keep you going. It's very reminiscent of Call of Duty Zombies, which is always a plus in my eyes. Despite how many positives I have for this game, there are a few flaws that are a little bit silly that kind of bring it down a tiny bit. There's about, I'll say, 3 issues, so I'll start with the smaller one first. When you're split screening with someone, you can't share your relics with them, so the other person can't use the same relic that you're using. Now, you're probably thinking they probably did this just for balance sake, which I can probably see that in like a design point of view, but when you're playing with someone and they want to use that cool relic you're using and you kind of have to like wait until the end of the level to give it to them, it doesn't really sit too well with me. I know there's probably for good reason why they did that. Online co-op is pretty hit or miss. At first I thought it was my internet, but after just doing a couple speed checks on the PS4, I'm both getting 20 meg download, at least 10 meg like upload, so I don't think it's that reason. I just think the game's online is a little bit sketchy. It's not so bad that it's unplayable, but there are moments that kind of lead it to be very frustrating, which I'll get into my last reason about. This last reason might not seem big, but sometimes it can conflate the other issues that I've mentioned as well. When playing like offline or online co-op, the characters will bump into each other, so they don't really go through each other, they just bump into each other, which is fine by itself, but bumping into each other with a laggy connection, sharing relics as the difficulty ramps up and there's more projectiles on the screen, leads you into making some really stupid mistakes that aren't really your fault because you don't know where the player is on their screen because of the connection issue, and you end up just bumping into random things and losing a lot of life. These issues make the last few levels on co-op just an absolute nightmare to play, but on solo they're just really straightforward. But with those issues, playing on co-op in the last few levels are just impossible. Like, they're stupidly hard. Apart from that, this game is still pretty damn good. If you're looking for a fun co-op game that doesn't really break the bank, I think I copped this game for like under £15, then definitely check this one out. If we're talking in terms of quality, I would say it's too far-fetched to say it's up there with something like Castle Crashers or Scott Pilgrim versus the Rock World. It's a really, really good game. I would probably rate this a hot 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. And that's all I have to say. Buy that. Peace out.